Girlfriend of 8 years told me she had only been with one other person in the past. But I just found out her body count is 43 and she's been cheating on me our whole relationship. My girlfriend, 32F, and I, 33M, have been together for 8 years. Honestly, I thought things had never been more perfect. When we got together she said she'd only been with one other person, sexually. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but just don't lie to me about it. I don't care how many people you've been with, just be honest with me. Anyways, she recently let it slip while we were playing a drinking game at our friend's place that her body count was 43. I didn't want to start a fight in front of our friends, but I was totally taken aback and I was utterly embarrassed. This certain drinking game, the couple had to guess the other's answer, so I had to guess what she was going to put, and I was sure she was going to say 2. But then it comes out and she says 43. The look on my face must have said it all. I didn't want to make a scene there because we had both been drinking, but when I brought it up the next day, she tried to tell me that I had never told her that I had only ever been with one person. And then we got in a fight about that. She said that it was unfair of me to try to peg her as some innocent angel. On top of that, she seemed to have a lot more guy friends than girl friends. And maybe this was my insecurities coming out, but it always just seemed like she behaved way more than friends. I feel like sometimes she'd very much flirt with them in front of me but then play it off like the fact that I had mentioned anything at all to her was disgusting because she said they're like my brothers. I tried to let this go for the longest time. Recently, however, there's been some incidents that have made me question things more deeply. For instance, a few months ago, she started getting very secretive with her phone, something she had never done before. She would receive late night messages and would quickly turn her phone away when I was nearby. I tried to dismiss my concerns thinking I was just being paranoid and insecure. If I ever said anything, again, she'd gaslight me and say that I was being a brat and she'd say I was being the overbearing and controlling boyfriend and I see these guys like my brothers. I've known them since I was a child. It's gross that you'd even think that. Last week a close friend of mine mentioned seeing her at a cafe with one of her male friends, and their interaction seemed more intimate than just friendship. He said she was grabbing onto leg and they were basically sitting on top of each other. This really shook me because it confirmed some of my worst fears. When I confronted her about it, she brushed it off, saying they were just catching up and that there was nothing more to it. Again, gaslighting me. This situation has left me feeling confused and insecure. I've always trusted her and believed in our relationship, but now I can't help but wonder if there's something more going on. I don't want to jump to conclusions or make unfounded accusations, but I also can't ignore these feelings of doubt and betrayal. But then again, she just makes me feel like I'm the crazy one. Am I being dramatic here? Am I the problem? We've had multiple discussions about her friendships with men, and each time, she reassures me that they are just friends. Yet the secrecy and the way she interacts with some of them make it hard for me to believe that entirely. It's becoming increasingly difficult to reconcile the person I thought she was with these recent behaviors. And now this cafe incident. I feel like my friend wouldn't lie to me about something like this either. I trust him in his judgment. I'm at a crossroads, unsure of how to proceed. Do I keep trusting her and risk being hurt, or do I take a stand and demand more transparency and boundaries? The thought of losing her is painful, yes, I know. Hard to believe at this point, but so is the thought of continuing in a relationship where I can't shake off the feeling of betrayal. I need to find a way to address these issues without pushing her away or damaging our relationship irreparably. What do you think? Is she cheating on me? Am I the crazy one? Update 1. Hi, I'm back. A couple months ago I came on here asking whether or not my girlfriend was cheating on me. I'm just here to update you all. After posting that story, a lot of you said that she was and that I had to grow a backbone and confront her and dump her. Well, I did, but let me just get there first. And then there were some of you who were asking why I was sticking around and what I was holding on to. So here's a little backstory. So yeah, I met my girlfriend Asha at a mutual friend's party. It was one of those moments where everything seemed to click instantly. We bonded over our shared love for indie music and late-night philosophical discussions. We had both majored in philosophy, but we went to different schools. She was witty, charming and had this infectious laugh that could light up any room. I was drawn to her kindness and the way she made everyone around her feel special. She was hella fun and chill. We traveled together, supported each other through career changes, and even adopted a dog together. Life honestly felt perfect. She was incredibly fun and adventurous, always up for spontaneous road trips or hiking excursions. She was very much the outdoorsy type. We backpacked through Europe, camped under the stars in national parks, we tried to scratch them off this bucket list of ours, and even went scuba diving in the Caribbean. She had this amazing ability to turn any mundane day into an exciting adventure. Her zest for life was contagious and being with her made me feel like we could conquer anything together. Okay, now the update. So I went through her iPad, which was connected to her phone. All her iMessages and everything on her cloud would pop up on this tablet. She usually has her phone glued to her, so I had a rare opportunity, but I knew that that would never happen. So I took my chances with the iPad and surprisingly, I managed to get on. I'm not sure if she forgot that they were linked or if she was just an idiot, but, hey, you win some, you lose some. I was scrolling through her photos first only to find videos and pictures of her nude and playing with herself. Early in our relationship, she'd send me pictures like this, so it wasn't completely out of the ordinary for her. However, I hadn't received a single one of these recent pictures. They were all recently dated, yet they were very similar to the ones she used to send me. Quickly, I had the sense to airdrop them to my phone to make sure I had evidence if she was actually cheating. At this point, I knew she was, I just didn't want to fully admit it. Believe it or not, I did love her. I mean, I do in some fucked up way. Or maybe just love the person I thought she was. The person that never existed. Despite everything, I still care deeply for her. We've shared so much together. She was there when my father passed away, and I've always imagined a future with her. When I looked into the coming years, I always imagined it with her. When I looked up the info on the pictures, I noticed a few of them were taken on Snapchat. This made me even more suspicious because we don't message each other on Snapchat. Honestly, I didn't even know she had Snapchat. While I had the time, I searched through her messages but couldn't find anything that stood out. But then I checked her Snapchat and she had a bunch of guys on there that she had been recently messaging and some that she had a big streak going with. All of these names looked familiar. So I knew she was in daily communication with these guys. I opened up the conversations and there were saved videos back and forth. Saved messages going into detail about what they did and what they planned to do and how good things went and blah blah blah. I took screenshots of all the questionable messages and the people she'd been snapping. I didn't even care if it notified them. Fuck em. After digging through everything, I put it back and decided what I should do. I wanted to call her up right then and there and leave. I wanted to pack up her shit and throw it out the door onto the front lawn. But after thinking it through, I decided not to bring it up while there was a chance that I might do something I regret. I have to really practice some self-control. I wanted to get my revenge and I have to make it good. I'll be back with an update as soon as I figure out what to do. Don't you worry. Update 2, hi everyone, I'm back with another update. After my last post I took some time to really think about how to handle this situation. I was torn between confronting her calmly or doing something more drastic. Ultimately, I decided that the best way to address this was to expose her lies in front of the people she had been deceiving, including the guy she had been cheating with, and all of our friends. In the midst of trying to act like everything was all good between us, I convinced her that we should host a games night at our place with a bunch of our friends, including some of the guys she was messaging on Snapchat whom she claimed were nothing but brothers. It seemed like the perfect opportunity to reveal everything. I figured it would be a dramatic but fitting end to this mess. I spent the week leading up to the games night preparing. I printed out the screenshots of her messages and saved videos, organizing them into a folder on my laptop. I also backed everything up on a USB drive just in case. I wanted to make sure I had all the evidence ready for when the time came. On the day of the games night, I tried to act as normal as possible. I didn't want to raise any suspicion. I helped Asha set up the snacks and drinks, and we arranged the living room for our guests. As everyone started arriving, I could feel my heart racing, but I knew I had to keep it together. Honestly, I was stoked. The night started off pretty well. We were playing some board games, and everyone was laughing and having a good time. I saw her flirting with the guy she had been messaging and smiled knowing what was coming next. I waited until everyone was settled and fully engaged before I made my move. I stood up and said, "Hey guys, can I have your attention for a minute? I have something important to share." Everyone looked at me, a bit confused, but they quieted down. Asha looked puzzled but didn't seem too concerned yet. I took a deep breath and continued for our next time. It's time to play truth or drink. I pulled out my laptop and connected it to the TV. I opened the folder with the evidence and started showing the screenshots and videos. The room went dead silent as everyone processed what they were seeing. Asha's face turned pale and she tried to grab the laptop but I moved it away. "These are messages and videos Asha has been sending to other guys, some of whom are in this very room," I said, looking directly at a few of her closest male friends. "I think you all deserve to know the truth." The room erupted into chaos. Some of the guys were in shock, others were furious. One of her friends, who had been a confidant of hers, looked completely betrayed. Asha tried to defend herself, shouting that I was invading her privacy and that this was a gross overreaction. But the evidence was undeniable and it had smacked her right in the face. Asha broke down in tears, but I didn't feel any sympathy at that moment. I simply felt relief that the truth was finally out. After the initial shock wore off, people started leaving, clearly uncomfortable with the situation. Some of them expressed their support for me, while others just left in silence. Asha and I were left alone in the apartment. She tried to talk to me, to explain herself, but I couldn't listen anymore. I was totally done. I told her to pack her things and leave. In the days that followed, she confessed to cheating on me throughout our whole relationship. She'd been talking to some of these guys from even before our time. She admitted to being a serial cheater. I blocked her on all social media and changed the locks on the house. It's been a difficult time, but I'm starting to feel like I can move on. The support from some of our mutual friends has been helpful, and I'm focusing on rebuilding my life without her and looking ahead with some optimism. Apparently a lot of our mutual friends have turned their back on her. The guys who had been cozying up to her have dropped her like a sack of potatoes. Apparently they all thought they were the only ones, aside from me of course. They each thought they were the special one that was causing her to falter in her relationship. The apple of her eye. Not only that, but I heard from a friend that her professional life also suffered. Rumors of her infidelity and unethical behavior spread like wildfire throughout her office. I guess there were some wives and partners calling in and causing a lot of drama with the men at work there because of their activity with Asha. I guess she was pretty busy canoodling with the men in the office too. Her credibility and integrity came into question, jeopardizing her career prospects and opportunities for advancement. I heard she's on a lower right now. To anyone going through something similar, trust your instincts and don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. It's hard, but you deserve honesty and respect in a relationship. Always. Thanks to everyone here who gave me advice and support. It really helped me get through this. Hopefully you don't hear from me ever again. Over and out. Now on to the next story. Story 2. Wife mocked and treated me like garbage when I lose my job. Turns out she was cheating with her rich boss the whole time to get promoted, so I got her fired and now she's begging for me back. My name is Cole and I was married to my ex-wife, June, for 2 years. Right from the first time I met June, I knew her to be a go-getter, and she had her way of being exceptional at anything she did. The first time we met was at work as recruits, and within months, she got promoted because of her hard work and dedication. About a year later, she left our company because she got a better offer, but there were rumors that she had a fallout with one of our bosses. But because June and I were close friends, I never believed anything they said after she left. After June left our company, we remained in touch, and even though I felt she was out of my league, I still liked her. One of the things that pulled me closer to her was her intelligence. She had an answer for everything, even the dumbest questions, and she was one of our best. About a year after June left for a better company, we got closer to each other, and we were almost like male and female besties. We were so close that she told me about everything happening in her life, at work, the guys asking her out, and so on. I did the same, but I never shared personal details about myself. Unlike me, June was an open book. She didn't need to know you so well to tell you about her childhood. In the process of being so close, I fell in love with her, and when I professed my feelings to her, she admitted that she liked me too. Eventually, we dated and ended up marrying after a year. Being married to June felt good, and even though we fought and argued a lot of times, there was nothing we couldn't fix. Aside from our fights and arguments, every other thing was great with us. We looked after each other, supported and pushed ourselves to become better versions. On my end, I provided for June and took full responsibility for rent, groceries, gas, and other bills, and occasionally, June would contribute to it. This was because there was a business idea she was working on, and we had an agreement that she would push whatever she earned to it for a couple of months, and I would single-handedly take care of us. Unfortunately, after 13 months of our marriage, I was laid off from my organization. It was a huge surprise and changed many things at home. For starters, I could not afford to pay rent, buy groceries, pay bills, or do the things I used to do before because I had a minimal amount of savings, and when that was exhausted, I had to depend on June to take care of the house until I got back on my feet. I submitted applications to multiple organizations, and I didn't get any positive response for months. I even tried doing menial hourly jobs for a week, but it felt so out of place, and the pay was so low that even if I worked 50 hours a week for 4 weeks, it would be nothing compared to how much I earned, so I quit and focused more on applying for my kind of work. Around the same time I was jobless, I noticed that June's attitude changed greatly. She no longer talked to me with respect. At every slightest provocation, she would remind me that she was taking care of the house. This hurt every time she said it. The first time we argued about me not making dinner for her on time, she said it in anger, and I believed she was stressed and exhausted. I even apologized to let peace reign, but after that, she mentioned it every day. Whether I did something wrong or not, she would always find a way to mock me for my joblessness and remind me that she was the one taking care of the house and paying all the bills. Also, it didn't end with the insults. Our intimacy reduced too, and she didn't even let me touch her. Every time I tried, she rudely turned me down or claimed she had to sleep early so she would go to work on time the following day. And because I wasn't working, I took over the full responsibility of cleaning, cooking, doing the laundry, and other things we used to do together. I'll admit I was hurt and heartbroken when she treated me and acted that way, and even after I got a job, things did not go back to how they used to be between us. Eventually, I was able to find a job. Although the pay was not as good as my first job, it was better than doing nothing. With my new job, things were back on track for me, but our relationship was sour from there. After I broke the news of my new job, she became nicer and apologized for everything she said to me. She even said she didn't mean to be rude, but she only encouraged me not to get comfortable with my joblessness. Despite everything she said, I still loved her and hoped we could work things out. I also forgave her for all the ill things she had said to me and the terrible treatment. On her end, I had seen a couple of improvements, but it wasn't like before, and I believed everything would be back to normal with time, but I was wrong. Despite having a new job, June and I were still distant. She only allowed me to touch her whenever she was in a good mood, and she became more engrossed with work and barely had time for me. It got to the point where I was so tired of our marriage, and I tried as much as I could talk to her, but everything I said was ignored. One day, I wanted to borrow her laptop to do something quick since I had forgotten mine at the office, and as soon as I turned it on, I got a notification from her bank. I shouldn't have checked her earnings since we were no longer close, but I was curious how much she earned. She had recently been promoted, and she never mentioned how much she was making, and to my greatest surprise, when I checked, it was a lot. So much that I wondered how it was possible, and as I did some further investigation to see how much extra it was from her previous salary, I stumbled upon something that revealed a bitter truth. In the past few months, June's transactions showed she had been making strange purchases, including payment for hotel rooms in a particular 5-star hotel, and the moment I saw that, I knew something was wrong. Out of instinct, I printed out copies of these strange expenses, and I cleared every trace that I had touched her laptop. I could not continue with what I wanted to do because I couldn't stop thinking. The following day, when June woke up, she told me she would be going out of town for a 2-day business meeting and coming home on Monday morning. I knew everything was wrong with her business meeting because she barely worked on weekends, so I pretended everything was cool and kissed her goodbye. Shortly after she left, I followed her, and she went to the same hotel from her transactions. When she arrived, a man I recognized as her boss from work welcomed her. They kissed and went into the hotel together. Luckily, I had my phone camera ready and took clear shots of them kissing outside June's car and him wrapping his hand around her waist as they walked into the hotel. Saying I was heartbroken is just an understatement. First, I could not believe that June was cheating on me with her boss, and while I was sulking in my broken state, everything made sense. The reason she earned so much monthly, and got 3 promotions in the space of a year was because she was doing her boss. Yet, she called herself my wife. Aside from being heartbroken, I was so mad, and I wanted to pay her back for hurting me that way, so as soon as I got home, I did some digging and sent everything I gathered to her company, and I waited for the volcano to erupt. On Monday morning, she returned as she told me, but she met her bags out on the porch. I told her to her face that I knew she was cheating on me, and our marriage was over. Instead of begging as I expected, she picked her stuff, murmured words I didn't hear, and drove off. At that time, I'm guessing her company did not reach out to her yet, because when she was kicked out of work, she called me and cried over the phone like a child who lost her candy. Not to sound like a sadist, but I enjoyed listening to her cry, and I wished she had gotten worse. After she realized that she no longer had her job and her relationship with her sugar daddy was out in the open, she tried to come back to me, but it was too late. I contacted a divorce lawyer, and shortly after that, we divorced, and I moved on with my life. As for her boss, the last time I heard, he was money laundering. He was also responsible for the increase in June's salary, and it was discovered that June was not his only sugar baby. He had a few others in the company. Now that I think of it, I can't help but believe that June was having an affair with one of our bosses in our former company, which was why she was sacked. She hurt me so much, and I'm even afraid to fall in love again. After we divorced, I have not seen her anymore, and I hope I don't. She deserves all the misery in the world, and I pray she gets enough of it.